begin with the first session. Mr. Firdose Vandrevala, former Executive Vice Chairman, SR Steel India Limited and past President of All India Management Association, is our first speaker, and Mr. Ripple Patel, Managing Director of Phenotex Costspin Private Limited and Executive Council Member of Rajkot Management Association, will serve as a session chairman. May I request him to be on stage, please? Mr. Ripple is the Managing Director of Phenotex Costspin Private Limited and is a company engaged with spinning mills comprising of 51,000 ring spindles with state-of-art of 100% cotton yarn manufacturing unit. He is an Executive Council member of Rajkot Management Association. Other affiliations with the associations include Confederation of Indian Industry, that is CII, as a past chairman of Western Gujarat for 2007 till 2009. He was also involved with Federation of Indian Textile Industry as a director. Associated with Spinners Organization of Gujarat, Fertilizers Association of Gujarat, Fertilizers Association of India, Mr. Ripple Patel is a Bachelor of Engineering. May I request Mr. Ripple Patel to please introduce our speaker, and may I request the other panelists to be on stage, please?
I would request all the panelists to join us. So today in this session, we would first hear Mr. Firdose Vandrevala, his journey, his experience, how, in a nutshell, if I say, he is considered as a turnaround wizard. So he has been serving, he was past Vice Chairman, SR Steel. He has worked with Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Motorola, and a variety of industries. He represents, he was Chairman AIMA, President AIMA. He has also been instrumental in a lot of social activities. As I had the privilege to interact with him, his funda is very clear. 1/3 is dedicated for himself, 1/3 is dedicated for society, and 1/3 is for a professional acquaintance. So without much waste of time, I would think I would like to introduce Mr. Vandrevala and let the flow begin. Yes, Mr. Vandrevala. Round of applause was a bit slow. Rajkot, please. સવાર માં તાલી પાડો તો મજા આવે. Yeah, thank you.
But the tally is after the performance, not before. Unless you're sure you won't get it after the performance. Respected citizens of Gujarat, academicians and students, good morning. Kem chho? Majama ta legama. Good morning, everyone. I'm truly happy to be here, and I must say I'm caught a little off guard. Invariably, these programs run 10-15 minutes late. So I had planned to speak for less than half an hour, but now I have the full half an hour. But my experience has shown that as you know, any consultant is as good as the client. When you say a consultant is not good, more than half the reason is that the client is not good. I remember very early in life, one consultant was approached by Sony to be a consultant on sound systems. So they were very confused that we are a general management consultancy, why are they asking us? And then they found out that actually, previously they were consultant to Philips. So Sony wanted to know about Philips through the consultant. So you will have to use that strategy here in some sense, that if you want to extract my life experiences, a lot will depend on what you ask me, because I can't come prepared. In any communication, the first thing is audience first, message accordingly. And if you want from all four of us what we have learned in life, what we have experienced in life, And for me, it's 69 years. Do that in 30 minutes is, I will select what is important to me, but that doesn't mean that's important to you. So what I'll try to do is, based on my experience and also in terms of research, what I say doesn't really matter today. It's what you remember and then implement is what really matters, because then that's what will really shape your mind and yourself. And what is Ramayana? It's a story about how you lead, how you should lead your life. And what I'm trying to do today is based on my experiences. I'm going to tell you 6 stories. And the hope that these stories, you'll remember some of them, because people remember stories than they remember concepts or ideas. And based on that, I hope there will be some impact to you as you grow up and move forward in life. A lot depends on what you mean. First is, everybody says, I want to be successful. But one man's success criteria is quite different from the others. And you've got to then decide what you achieve, what's your goal. Then, in classical books, they say first, what is it you want to achieve? Define your goal. Then you plan accordingly. And then try to achieve your goal. My experience is it doesn't work that way. It may work for some. I didn't plan to become managing director of Tata Power or deputy managing director of Tata Steel. It happened. My job was to be prepared that when the opportunity came, I was the best man for that opportunity. When I take interviews, I ask them, what do you want to achieve? Say, I want to be general manager in the next 5 years. I want to be a managing director in the next 10 years. My experience, I'm not saying it's right, you can't. I think the important thing for you is to go with the flow. Take one step at a time and be prepared. You can't, in a world of an uncertain future, or like they say, the VUCA world, you can't really plan your life. Now, that's not what the textbooks are going to tell you, but that's what my experience tells me. One is about success. You can't plan your success, is the point I'm trying to make. And the important thing is, it doesn't matter whether you become managing director or a CEO or an owner of 1,000 or 10,000 or $1 billion company. Eventually, we are human beings and you have to be happy. Now, happiness has become a great subject in management schools. There are now programs and subjects and research and books on happiness. I've read a lot of books. 52 items to become, the latest book says there are 52 items how to be happy. Too complicated. I can't remember them. I read the book. I like the Chinese philosophy of being happy. If you have 3 things, there's a good chance you'll be happy. Something to do that you like, something to look forward to, and someone to love. If you have these 3 things, there is a good chance you'll be happy. Something to do, something to look forward to, and someone to love. We are emotional beings, so that concept of love is very important. To really succeed, the first thing you have to do is have the ability to change. Because you don't have the ability to change in a world that is changing, you will never succeed and you will not be happy also. Now, there are 2 types of change. There's something called technical change and then something called behavioral change. Technical change is easy. You move from an Android phone to an Apple phone, the operating system is different. You make that change. It's easy. Behavioral change, almost impossible. Every year for the last 40 years, I have one common resolution every new year. Lose weight. Kuch nahi hota hai. Then I'm told, eat slowly, because by the time you eat so fast, by the time your stomach realizes it is food, you have overeaten. So I have tried every trick in the trade. I eat with my left hand. I take the spoon and I put it down. I can write books on how to eat slowly and lose weight, but I don't eat slowly and I don't lose weight. Every morning I step on the weighing scale also. It only moves one way. So while I'm telling you to make behavioral change, my own thing is it's very difficult. But if you don't make behavioral change, then it's very difficult that you will have the ability to succeed on a constant or consistent basis. Because, in this world, things are moving. And remember, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. A bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. And you can make that turn if you have the ability to make behavioral change. The next point is be world class. This is a state and a city of entrepreneurs. Yesterday I had dinner with a lot of you and you all talked very proudly and rightly so of the facilities in your factory and in your business. But what will really make you world class is not your tangible assets. It's not the machines or the technology you have, because anybody can buy that machine. You need money power. Anybody on the street can borrow and invest. So it's not the tangible assets that is going to make you world class. And that's true not just for companies, also for individuals. To be world class, you need 3 C's. Remember the 3 C's: concepts, competencies, and connections. If you have the right concepts, and these keep changing, if you have the right competencies, and if you have the right connections. Now in India, connections has a negative tone to it. Oh, this fellow is well connected, oh, manage kar lega. There's an Indian style of management. You manage it. But that's not what I mean by connections. And let me tell you one personal experience. When I joined Tata Steel, 1972, I joined as a GT. For 2 years, we underwent training, going to various departments. I was an electrical engineer in a metallurgical company. And it was quite boring, steel melting shop, blast furnace, rolling mill, 1 week, 2 weeks, then you wrote a diary. And then I started working in the project department. And there were 2 of us. One was a direct recruit who was a brilliant engineer. Brilliant means multiple times more brilliant than me. But my appraisals were always better than his. Because we were in project department and we had to make some changes, install new machines, make some modifications to existing machines. But because of that training, I had gone to all the departments. I met all the superintendents. I knew them. They sort of knew me. It was very easy for me to connect with them, get my shutdowns, and get my job done. So while theoretically he was a better engineer, practically I was a better performer. I could finish my projects much faster than he because I was connected. I knew the people. So make it a point to get to know more people almost religiously that, look, for this month, I need to establish contact with 5 different people in 5 different fields. Because it's the quality of your conversations with these people that will enhance your life's experiences. The next point I want to say based on my experiences, take an integrated view of the problem. And I'm going to make a very funny statement, but I'll explain it later. Most times, the solution defines the problem. Most times, the solution we have in mind defines our understanding of the problem. Let me tell you a real story. Deep down in South India, there was a very conservative village. And twice a day, if not 3 times a day, the women would travel several kilometers with handis on their heads to bring water from a well. And then there was a new district magistrate who said that in today's 21st century, this is almost inhuman. So he got sanctions, he dug bore wells, installed pumps, an overhead PVC tank on every house, piping and a tap in the house. And water supply was established in every house. Inauguration, fanfare, celebrations, media coverage, the usual. 3 months later, they did an audit, and what did they find? The women are still walking to the well. So the investigation, nal khola, pani avech, tested the water, pH 7.00, neither acidic nor alkaline. They could not understand. Then there was a sociologist in that team, Andre Patel from Jawaharlal Nehru Institute. This is a real story. He investigated, and guess what he found? The problem was not going to the well to collect water. It was a very conservative village, and the people, the women, did not have a place and an opportunity to gossip, to meet and socially interact. Gossip doesn't mean talking. Gossip is defined as sharing human stories. True or untrue, that's another matter. So that was their problem of the village. But as engineers, we saw it as a problem of availability of water at the doorstep. So many times the solution defines the problem. So I am consulting now, and I spent a day with a client. It was a marketing problem, a steel company. They had done a 2-day offsite, and they gave me a 2-hour presentation. I listened quietly. Then I asked them, what is your problem? Please give me your problem statement. You have given me, they gave me all the solutions. This web platform we'll change the distribution network, usual, pura textbook. I said, हमको problem क्या है बताओ, શું problem છે તમારે? It took them half an hour and they still could not define the problem. So I'm going to meet them, have a call tomorrow. So make sure you clearly identify the problem, because the solution will accelerate the definition of the problem in your head. One more point. Be an expert. Many times when I take interviews and I ask them, what do you want to be? Sir, like I said, general manager in 5 years, an MD in 10 years. It's standard. You know, a tree is as strong as its roots. If you are not an expert in one subject or in one item, then you can branch out and have smattering knowledge in many other items. But today's world, you have to be an expert in one item, otherwise you are dead. So what do you mean by an expert? How do you define an expert? So let me tell you another story. It's not very elegant, but it's powerful, so indulge in me. A guy goes to a doctor and tells the doctor, Doc, I have a problem. So the doctor says, yes, what's your problem? He says, I pass a lot of wind, but it does not smell and it doesn't make sound, so I can live with it, no problem. But problem solved થઈ જાય તો સારું છે, નહીં થાય તે બી ચાલે. So doctor examined him and gave him some medicine. This will come back after 1 week. After 1 week, the man came back very agitated. Doctor. So doctor says, what's happened? He said, Doctor, તું mad છે, શું થઈ ગયું? So I told you it is not making smell or sound. Now it is making smell. So the doctor says, good, good. He says, good? Hurry, there was no smell before, now there is smell. He says, good. Now that I've solved the problem with your nose, let me solve the problem with your ear. So an expert is one who smells and hears things others cannot. You know, management jargon, they'll say connecting the unconnected dots and all that. But my point is simple. Be a specialist before you become a generalist. And the last point I want to make, and though most of you will probably get into business knowing that you are from this region, don't quit. Don't quit. When things go wrong, as sometimes they will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but please, 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 please don't quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a fellow turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up when the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint in the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It might be nearer when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. And now look forward to your questions and share my experiences in more detail. Thank you.
That was wonderful. As he mentioned, ability to change, being world class, integrated view of a problems, be expert, and don't quit. And he has put it in a very nice way. If you feel, take rest, but don't quit. And that's very wonderful. So I'll start the question. I'll ask the panelists to have some questions. Bhavin, first all the students introduce yourself with your colleges and then you may please ask the question. Bhavin.
Hello, good morning, sir. My name is Bhavin Pujara and I am from Sunshine Group of Institution. My question is, what management and leadership challenges do you think will the next wave of technology bring?
Check. English में बोलो नहीं सुन. What is the question?
What management and leadership challenges do you think will the next wave of technology bring?
Behavioral change. Because technology is going to, we used to first say the IT systems, when I started my career, the IT systems depended on the strategy. Then IT advanced so fast that IT defined the strategy. So similarly with technology change, I think it's going to define what you are going to, what's going to happen in the future. And you can't really predict the technology change. When driving with him here, he asked me one question. This is the hub for automobile components. How will the advent of electric cars affect us? It will throw the automobile components, because the components required in an electric car are very different and very few. Now you've got to predict when that's going to come. And you've got to take your chances. Don't overcome it, but at the same time be prepared. And so there will be, like I said, the challenge will be change, both on technical and technology change and behavioral change. I can't really expand much more, but technology forecasting, keeping an eye on what's happening is going to be the key. And that's happening very fast. Whether it's the Taj hotels competing with Oyo, it's going to break cost barriers for sure. So you'll have to look very strongly at your cost structures. And sometimes it's just better to shut down and start again than to keep trying to do incremental cost reductions, because you'll never get there. I don't know if I've answered your questions, but you can ask me a question in continuation if you want more clarification.
And you need any clarifications?
No,
But
sir.
even let the clarification come from the audience. Let it not be one-to-one. I think the panel discussions gives a lead to an idea, and based on the comments I make and the question he raises, if there's anything from the audience, I think let it be more participative. Or if someone wants to add to what I've added, please feel free, because it's a idea sharing based on experience
Any
session.
students from audience want to have a questions in terms of the what Mr. Vandrevala added regarding the technological changes?
So let me give you one example. This was many years ago. When we make steel, we used to pour the liquid steel into ingots, which are like ice cream molds, huge 7-ton ingots, and then we used to roll it down. To reduce cost, something like continuous casting came, where you pour the steel and immediately it becomes a slab or a strip or a billet or whatever. So when we were putting up the plant, I was in engineering, I made a provision for emergency ingot casting. So when my boss looked at the plans, he says, why have you made this? He says, sir, continuous casting is new. Suppose there's a breakout, then you'll have 100 tons, because each heat was 130 tons. You'll have 130 tons of liquid steel on the shop floor, which will be a waste and also a risk. So if case there's a breakout, then quickly the ladle can come to the ingot casting and cast an ingot. It was removed. It says no. If you have an alternative, people will not change fast enough to make sure there is no breakout. And then we did not have, occasionally there was. So it's like this, when you're flying in an aeroplane, what are the chances of a puncture when it lands? Much less than in a cycle. So you've got to plan that what are the implications and then design your equipment and technology for that. So as technology changes, I think learning to shed off your old habits and the old way of working is going to be the biggest challenge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I would like Darsh to ask the question.
Good morning all. I am Darsh Chudasama from VVP Engineering College, and my question to sir is that as we know that you are known as turnaround wizard, so you might have changed the fortune of so many unprofitable companies. So would you like to share any experience about that?
Good question. In Jamshedpur, where I was working, where Tata Steel, Tata Iron and Steel at that time, was located, there was a company called Indian Tube Company. Then it got merged with Tata Steel. So when the merger took place, what is the first thing one does? You appease the employees of the company you have acquired. So all the perks of Tata Steel were given to Indian Tube Company employees, so that they say, naya malik hai, sabko khush karne ke liye badu. So if there were special leave provisions, uniform, canteen, everything, all the privileges that were there of Tata Steel employees and not in Indian Tube Company was given to Indian Tube, hoping that employee morale will increase. 1 year later, it continued to make losses. So I was sent there. I was a very young boy. So I was told, first thing you have to do is, all the special privileges of Indian Tube, which is not there in Tata Steel, you remove. I said, wah. That should have been done when you gave the Tata Steel privileges. But then popularity is a very challenging thing when you do a merger. So that was done. And I remember very early, it was almost second or third day, I have a sense of humor that backfires also. So I was sitting, and in Tata Steel, you have to first manage the people. So we had a meeting with all the union committee members. And person from Thermax came, head of quality control. So he was a customer. So in the meeting itself, I told him, हाँ भेज दो. He was very agitated. I said, excuse me, sir, why are you so agitated? He says, you know, we took this tube. You have such a good reputation. It is a Tata company. We put it in a boiler. We didn't check it because we said Tata ka pipe hai. And then we did pressure testing of the boiler. The tube is leaking. I said, what happened? He said, there's a hole in the tube. And we've already made the boiler. Now we have to dismantle the whole boiler. So I said, there's a hole in the tube. But if there's no hole, it won't be a tube. So that was one problem we had. I'll give you the whole. So now when I told you solution defines the problem, so we were getting a lot of quality complaints. So I said, before the dispatch of the tube, you do what is called pressure testing. The tube is folded, welded, and then you pressure test it, which means you put water in it, increase the pressure of the water, and if there's any pinhole or any leak, the pressure will drop because the water will come out. And then that was recorded in a pressure graph. There's a circular paper which monitors the pressure. So if the pressure drops, there will be an ink print showing the pressure has dropped. So if there were 10,000 tubes dispatched there will be 10,000 prints. All will show no drop. But we would still continue to get complaints. So I'm an engineer. So I said, "Acha, kuch cheating karta hai." So I started, firstly increase the supervision. Then I put that every time the pressure will drop, there was a spray paint that would drop a blob of paint on the tube. So if the tube had a blob, that means the pressure had dropped. Still the complaints are coming. Scratching my head, ye kya karega? Then I said, look, I started a program where I took all the employees in a 1 year period, it took 1 year, showing them how the problem was that the little, whatever trick they were doing of not testing properly, which we could not find, and I found it later, that from I know how it is made in coke ovens, steel melting shop, the whole value addition before the tube is made. And just because of their inefficiency or laziness or lack of diligence, what impact it has. You know what they were doing? Very clever they are. Huh? You think because you go to college you are clever than them? They will take one pipe, press the button 10 times and transfer 10 tubes. Because then you don't have to keep transferring. Na? Ek baar kar do, fadak se check kar do. And that used to happen in the night shift. But once I did that whole program, we started a communication that quality means when the customer returns, not the tube. Because we were making losses, every time we would go for a meeting in Tata Steel, we were treated like, OBCs. पीछे बैठने का है, hey चला तुम लोग तो you all are making losses, we make profit, you make losses, sit at the back. If you opened your mouth in a meeting, they'll turn around and look at you. चुप कर, बात करता है, पैसा बनाओ, बाद में बात करो. So I started, all of us will wear badges, go with pride. Announce that I'm from the tubes division. I mean, there were a whole lot, I'm just going to tell you a few. Then we started a game called Crick-Ennis, where cricket was played with a tennis ball. I'll explain the rules later sometime. But it was a fun event. It was inter-club. Even now it is played. There were banners. Firdose is to Crick-Ennis what Kerry Packer is to ODIs. Because then we became a focal point, The point I'm making is that in that whole turnaround, it wasn't technology. It was getting the people to rise. They will find the solutions. So in all my experiences, whether in, I will not go through that, there's one common theme. Get the people to rise. They know their job better than you think you know their job. They will find the solution if you can motivate them. That's the key, people management. When I used to have meetings with the union, I used to get up, the union used to sit on the other side and the management would sit on this side. After everyone is seated, I would tell the president of the union, get up, and I will sit in his place. He says, "Saab kya karta hai?" Kya karta matlab kya? These are my people. I am the boss. I represent them. You're only their speaker. I am their representative. We give the union the right to become the representative of the union, of the workers. It is the management who has to look after the worker. The union is only the speaker, hopefully expressing the sentiments of the union, of the workers, which seldom it does. So the point I'm raising again and again and again, that when you are dealing, whether it's 10 people in your factory or in your office or 10,000, in Tata Steel we had at one time 77,000 workers, including mines and collieries. Managing the people, keeping them going is the key to success. In marketing and sales, in Tata Steel, I started SAP, where we re-engineered, re-segmented the market. It's another long story. And a union member once told me, he says, "Vandrevala Sahab, you are doing a lot of changes, but you're missing the point." I said, "What is that?" He says, in this zoo, you're changing the cage. How about changing the animals also? Union people have a way of talking, especially if you're in Calcutta. His point was that I was re-engineering all the work processes, the workflows, but I was not changing the basic people. And I asked him, Kya, what is the problem? He says, today's managers, I am only Mr. Day. Yesterday's manager, if I came, my manager knew something is wrong just by looking at my face. बीबी से झगड़ा हुआ या बच्चा sick है या बच्चा fail हुआ कुछ तो problem है. He will ask me. Today's managers don't care about me. If you don't care about me, why should I care about you and the company? You know, my first job I went to, Rusi, I don't know how many of you have heard of Rusi Modi, you all are too young. He was a legend, senior people will know. When I joined Tata Steel, he said, Firdose, how many hours in a day? I said, very funny question. I said, sir, I don't understand the trick in the question, but 24. He says, correct answer. I said, okay. Hello, question for the managing director of Tata Steel to ask GT. He says, how many hours you sleep? I said, 8 hours. How many balance? 16 hours. He says, okay, we have a deal. I said, yes, sir, what is the deal? 8 hours you work for me, and 8 hours I will make sure you have a good time. Because Jamshedpur was a small town, very boring. From IIT you go and people say, Sala, Jamshedpur mein kya kar raha hai? You'll get bored. That time there was no internet and mobile phones. It was a hole in the ground. You were isolated. So his job was to make sure that in the 8 hours that we were not working or sleeping, life in Jamshedpur was fun. Activities in the club, things to do, a lot of things were going on. So you give me 8 hours in the factory and I will make sure 8 hours outside the factory I will. So he motivated us, he looked after us. And I can keep telling you stories like this, so I better stop. But let me tell you one more of how human interaction, you know, so in the same Indian Tube story, it turned around and everything was going very well. Then one day, my Bada Babu, in those days the secretaries were called Bada Babus in the plant. I was having a meeting with some supervisors and my Bada Babu stormed into my office. He says, Modi Saab aa raha hai. Now, in previous few occasions when Mr. Modi came to your office means you have got the sack. So all my supervisors got up and left me. Just chup chap sab ud ke bhag gaya. And I started thinking, now kya galti kiya, Modi sahab aa gaya. So he came to my office. I told him, sit down. Now earlier I told you it was a separate company, Indian Tube. He was the chairman of that. So his office was next to the head office. I mean, next to my office. Nobody sat there, but every day fresh flowers would be put. And for 4 years, he had not been to that office. He came into my office. Then he said, Firdose, you're doing very well. I said, thank you, sir. But I can't promote you. If I promote you, you know, you're Parsi, I'm Parsi, they'll say I'm promoting Parsis. So I said, okay, sir, but I have not asked for promotion. He said, I can't give you increase in salary. We are not doing very well, so I can't give you a salary increase. I said, okay, sir, but I have not asked for salary, I have not asked for promotion. He said, I'll do for you what I have not done for anybody else. He took me to his room, called the carpenter, took out his nameplate and put my nameplate. Says, well done, keep the good job, and left. So innovation can be in the smallest of way. And in a small time like Jamshedpur, it was worth more than any money or promotion. Arey, Firdose is sitting in Mr. Modi's office. Even when the club when I went, I got extra chicken in my chicken sandwich. Because abhi Modi sahab ka kamra mein baithta hai, bada sahab ho gaya. So I can carry on. So I think the main point I'm making is managing people, and it's not just about giving them money and promotions. You know, in organizations, all reward and recognition is around these two factors: designation, promotion, and money. There are many ways you can, because any promotion or any monetary incentive, maximum time is 2-3 months. After that, it goes back to where you were. It's not a sustainable motivating factor. You've got to motivate and really make people believe in what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, that was a longish answer, but it was sharing experiences.
No, it was worth because a lot of students will correlate in their future past. I mean,
you know, to give you another example, 17 January is his birthday. Till now, the Steel City Golf Tournament is played in the weekend closest to 17 January. Now, we were IIT graduates, gold medalists, yes, sab. Now, how many of you know the game of golf? Okay, so you hit a ball and then you try to put it in a hole. So a lot of people used to come for this tournament. To make sure that the game progresses and there's no hold up on the field, there were what is called ball markers or ball spotters. Your job was when the fellow hits the ball to spot the ball, so he doesn't waste time looking for the ball. Now we were all IIT graduates. There was a competition amongst us who would become a ball marker. Can you imagine? Gold medal IIT, what is your whole job? From 6 in the morning, sunrise to 6 in the PM and till sunset, you're out in the field, people are hitting the ball and saying, Sab, idhar tumhara ball hai. And we would compete. Why? Because once you became a ball marker, you participated in all the festivities. Morning to night, you got chicken sandwich, beer, coke, you got invited for the dinner, the entertainment. Our salary was 500 rupees and we were competing to become ball boys. Like in a tennis match, tennis court, you have a ball boy. In golf, you call them ball markers. And we would be marking balls for 12 hours. And there would be intense competition, ladai, to become a ball marker. So that's the motivation you can make even out of a useless job, if I may say.
Great, great, great. So I'll ask Kesha to flow her question.
Hello, good morning all of you. My name is Kesha and I am from Sunshine Group of Institution. So my question to sir is that as you are well known for your wit and humor, so ever this quality have helped you to get out of the difficult professional situation?
It has got me into trouble. Often it has got me into trouble because I don't know when to keep my mouth shut. See, wit and humor is good when you're talking to people below you. I'm not so sure it is good for people when you're talking to your bosses. So you have to be very careful. But I have landed into lots of trouble. What more can I tell you?
Sir, anything specific without naming the names?
So one day Rusi Modi was walking down the steps and it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He had an assistant called Aditya Kashyap. I was assistant to Dr. Irani, who was deputy managing director. So I was walking down the steps and he says, Firdose, where are you going? I said, sir, going for lunch. So late. You're working for the wrong boss. So I turned around to Aditya and says, Mr. Modi is talking to you. So he gave me a very dirty look. Then I said, hey, Bhagwan, I didn't realize he's listening to it. So, sara mushkil hai. I have a foot and mouth disease. I'll give you one example. Yesterday we were having dinner. And I was introduced to this lady who is, and they said, she is the MOC. So I said, what is MOC? So they said, Master of Ceremonies. But I said, how can she be Master of Ceremonies? She's the Mistress of Ceremonies. So she said, I don't want to be Mistress. Then I realized that, arey, galti bol diya. Somebody can accuse me of sexual harassment. But fortunately that did not happen. So this foot and mouth disease is not always a good. You have to apply the brakes sometimes.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. But it has helped me out. You know, when there is tension and you're dealing with the troops, one is you have to be confident, but not falsely confident. You've got to be confident, but with some reality in it. Otherwise, the troops will get demotivated. And you've got to ease the tension also. So, if it's a tense situation or a nice joke now and then, let people relax also. You know, like I remember we were once discussing, we used to have what is called a senior dialogue, which is like a town hall with senior people. And steel prices had gone down, and we were discussing the need of the company to reduce cost. There's a strong pressure of the market. Dr. Irani was the managing director. I was in charge of marketing and sales as vice president. So I asked the audience, what is the cost of tomatoes? And I asked the question, what is more expensive, steel or tomatoes? Everybody started laughing. Kya baat karta hai? Where is steel and where is tomatoes? So when they finished laughing, I says, what is the cost of tomatoes? 18 rupees a kilo. What is the cost of steel billet at that time? 12,000 rupees per ton. So I said, per kilo kitna hua? Stunned silence. Steel was 12 rupees a kg, tomatoes was 18 rupees a kg. Dr. Irani sent me a note. He was sitting there, I was sitting on this side. Don't scare the troops. So I wrote back to him, that is your job. My job is to tell the truth. After that, I was called to the office. What happened after that? That depends on your boss. You see, I won't give any more names. One is, I became a brand that ye to kuch muh phat hai. He will say anything, and I got away with it. So Dr. Irani and I had an equation. He was a very strong personality, quiet personality. He was chairman of AIMA also. And we are totally different personalities. He is an introvert. I am an extrovert. We are strong. But till today we get along. But we had maximum differences of opinion. I was his assistant for the longer time because he appreciated my different point of view. I had another boss and I was in constant trouble with him because he could not appreciate my sense of humor, my outspoken style of talking, and my independent thinking. Whereas Dr. Irani did. You know, we had a quality movement in Tata Steel. And we said, now that we've had all the management, Deming Award and business excellence, we need to involve the people. I told you management is about people. So Lalu Prasad was the Chief Minister of Undivided Bihar. Dr. Irani was in US. So I was talking to him on the phone. Those days, phones were expensive, so you had to speak fast. I said, sir, I'm planning to call Lalu Prasad for the quality function with the workers. He says, Firdose, I've always appreciated your out-of-the-box thinking, but now you're out of your mind. What has Lalu Prasad got to do with quality in steel? I said, no, sir, thora try karta hai. Because, you know, what is important, I've learnt in life when you're communicating, and I'll tell you that experience. When you're communicating, it's not only what you say, it is also who says it. That makes a difference, and I'll give you 2 examples. So he was in a hurry, he said, okay. Then when the day came, he says, Firdose, you've got your resignation letter because if this function doesn't go well, I'm going to ask you to resign. I said, yes, sir. I had prepared a speech for Lalu in Hindi and English. I had sent it to Patna. When he landed in Jamshedpur, I gave his assistant a copy of the speech. I left it on the podium. I left it on the desk. He did not use that speech at all. But the workers were convinced, and ladies, excuse me. So his message was very simple, I'll say. He said, देखिए क्वालिटी क्वालिटी होता है. वो अभी जो औरत आके हमको फूल दिया, गार्लैंड दिया, वो लिपस्टिक लगाने से क्वालिटी बढ़ता नहीं है, माल माल होता है. Then the worker said, sir, पहले आप लोग ऐसे समझाया नहीं हमको. So you know the speaker is sometimes more important than the content. Before that we had Suresh Krishna come and talk about Six Sigma, ye, wo, quality was never understood the way Lalu explained it to the workers. I told you I was general manager. At one time I was general manager production. We had a problem in the blast furnace. Twice I told Dr. Irani, sir, I'm not getting enough help from R&D. He heard me out. Because I'm not a blast furnace expert. Then a person reporting to me, much senior to me, Mr. L.M. Chatterjee, I told him, L.M., सर आप थोड़ा डॉक्टर ईरानी को बोलिए ये प्रॉब्लम है R&D से हमको हेल्प नहीं मिल रहा है. So in a meeting Mr. Chatterjee said, sir, this problem is now lasting 2.5-3 weeks and we are not able to solve it and R&D is not stepping up. Within half an hour Dr. Irani called the meeting. And before that 2-3 times I told him, he says, what does Firdose know about blast furnace? Chhor usko. But as soon as L.M. Chatterjee said it, meeting was called and R&D was told, you better stop all work and solve this problem. So when you are communicating, choose your message, also choose your messenger. It's very important.
Now I would request Sarah to ask one question.
Hello, good morning all. My name is Sarah Bharmal and I am from Kansagra Mahila College. So I have a question for you that you have been actively addressing all the seminars and conferences. So what difference have you found or you feel is in the people and professionals and employees in India and other countries?
To be honest, in other countries, it's been a monologue. I've gone and spoken, never had a dialogue. But I can tell you the difference between, say, interacting with Indian youth today and the Indian youth today in general, forget the seminars, and the Indian youth when I was in Indian youth. So let me give you my own personal experience. I have 3 children. My youngest son went to Boston, did his MBA. His brother is also living in the US. Then he rings me up and says, Dad, I've got an appointment letter from ChargePoint. They make charging stations for electric vehicles. I said, very good, congratulations. What salary? He says, $100,000. I said, very good. So that was my salary almost at the time of retirement. But usko bolne ka nahi hai. 3 days later, he rings me up, Dad, I bought a car. I said, you bought a car? You just got your appointment letter 3 days ago. You've not even started work. When you'll get your salary after 30 days. How you bought a car? He says, I took a loan. He says, you took a loan? But guarantee? He says, appointment letter and then my brother is there, personal guarantee he is given. I said, very good. What car you bought? Mercedes. Huh? Mercedes? Dad, there was a second-hand Mercedes, rooftop, California road, mein mast hai. You come, I'll show you, then you'll understand. I said, okay. That confidence to buy a car, when we were young, scooter le liya, bahut ho gaya. The confidence on the future and in yourself is much more than what was there before. I think Indian youth, touch wood, are extremely confident. Hopefully it's not misplaced. Not only confident about themselves, but about the future also. Of course, now the economy is not doing too well. But I think you guys are much better off than we were. I guess our parents would tell that about us, I hope.
Thank you, sir.
I would ask Fenil to ask a question.
Good morning, sir. Hello, everyone. My name is Fanil Chandarana. I am from Christ College. So my question is, since you have graduated from IIT Kharagpur and you have done and also hold a postgraduate diploma in business management from XLRI Jamshedpur, so what is your advice to those who are studying not from such premium institutes but still want to do well in their life?
It doesn't matter which school you go to. My children are doing better than me and they didn't go to IIT. I think it's basically what is taught as, there is a difference between character and personality. I won't get into that. But I think for sustainable progress and success, build your character. Doesn't matter which school you go to. It really doesn't matter. Mr. Modi just about made it as BA. And I think he got 3rd class or something. He almost became chairman of Tata Sons. So I think it's what you do, which college you go to and what degree you get, at best gives you an opening to start your career. Thereafter, whether I went to IIT or BIT makes no difference. It only gives me an opening. And a lot depends on what you learn. It's the same textbook, maybe the style of teaching. But today with the internet, part of what I do, like you mentioned, 1/3 to myself, 1/3 for community and 1/3 professional engagement. So in part of my community, I run a school. I'm having a serious, I'm making a new building, top class facilities, everything. What's my biggest challenge in running the school? Getting the teachers to change the way of teaching. They said, we have been doing like this for years, we are successful. How many people you have taught to tell us? I've gotten experts from overseas to explain the new ways of sharing, group discussion. Slowly now they are changing. Otherwise, we are teachers, we get 10% results, but you have to change. So, doesn't really matter which school you go to. It's what you learn and the way you conduct your life. Don't be over obsessed by the quality of the school you go to, and if I may be a little adventurous, even the quantity of marks you get. Give it your best shot.
Thank you, sir.
Because
One
I
of you
think
may become an artist, you need not know Ohm's law.
because this might be a common question, because in B-Town, B-Town fantasy is almost what A-Town people do. So, might be a lot of students will correlate with this, and as Mr. Vandrevala
You know, I am
mentioned-
asked, which is the best university you went to? And you know what is my answer? Tata Steel. I've been to Harvard, I've been to INSEAD, I've been to all IIT, XLRI, everywhere. But where did I learn the most? On the job. I'll give you one simple example. This is really a childish, simple example. So, like I told you, I was Dr. Irani's assistant, and he maintains a diary. Even now, he will maintain. If you call him for a function, he will have his black diary and a pen over here. Even if you call him for dinner, he'll have that diary and pen. And everything is written. It is color-coded. I mean, he's the master of diaries, but not electronic. So one day we were looking at some programs, and I flipped his diary, and he tapped my hand. So I said, hey, sala ye to marta bhi hai, boss. So I looked at him stunned. He says, you don't know how to turn the pages because that corner of the page had got flipped. So he says, you must pick up one page at a time and turn it. So I was taught as his assistant after going to IIT how to turn the pages of a diary. You know, excellence is a habit. Whether it's big things or small things, you recognize a man by what he does when he is not observed. When we are observed, we are all gentlemen. When the police is there, we stop at the red light. Do we stop at the red light when the police is not there? That is the question.
I would ask Komal to have a question.
Good morning all. My name is Komal. I am from Sunshine Group of Institutions. My question is to you, sir. You have worked in steel, telecommunication, power and real estate industry. So working with which industry was closest to your heart and why?
You know, it wasn't the industry. It was the job I had. So like I told you, my two best jobs I would say is handling tubes division and handling marketing and sales of Tata Steel. Because there I could make the maximum change. I've given you some idea of tubes division. Changing the culture, changing the performance, getting pride in the people, that gave me maximum satisfaction. You know, you've got to be a bit of a nut sometimes. First thing is housekeeping. You know, the Prime Minister's thing of Swachh Bharat, many people think, yeah, itna bada problem hai, and he's talking about, but that's the fundamental stepping stone of a good way of living. In tubes, there used to be a lot of rework. You know, the quality was not right, the tube will come back, you rework it, cost goes up, production goes down, quality complaints, a total mess. And there were lines of factories, and on the road also there would be tubes, there would be spare parts because there was no place inside the factory. So I told the superintendents, what is inside the shed is yours. You are the superintendent, you are the boss. what is outside the shed is not yours, it is mine. And you cannot put anything here. I'm giving you 1 week. If after 1 week it is still there, I'm going to throw it in the scrapyard. So they said, this young fellow has come, what will he do? Exactly after 1 week, I took 7 trucks, 20 labor. 6 in the morning, I started. Everything there, I picked up and threw it in the scrap. When the superintendent came at 8 o'clock, they saw this happening. Sir, kya ho raha hai? Sir, I gave you 1 week. You didn't do anything. Then they took 20 workers from the scrapyard and they brought it back and put it inside the plant. You know, if you want performance, it is not the severity of the punishment, but the certainty of it. Now every time I told them something, they knew, ye hum nahi karega to ye hone wala hai. And the turning around of the tubes division gave me maximum joy. And I could do the most also. And a whole lot of things, I mean, that experience is another story, but it gave me maximum joy because I could have maximum impact. Not only on the performance, but also on the people. The club became a top club. People then started getting better opportunities in this main steel company. And even now I'm in touch with them. The second was in marketing and sales. In yesteryears, you know, steel was like ration shop. The government told you what to produce, when to produce, at what price to sell. And there used to be what is called freight equalization. The government had a policy because all the steel plants were in the east. So for national overall development, whether I supplied steel from Jamshedpur to Calcutta or Jamshedpur to Ahmedabad, the freight was the same. There was what is called a freight equalization, so that steel was available at same cost all across the country. So it was totally price controlled. And our job was to produce at a cost lower than what was set by the government. Then there was liberalization. I had never sold a ton of steel. I was in the project engineer, I ran the steel plant, I was then running the mines. I was vice president raw materials. Then one day I was called to Dr. Irani's office and told Firdose, I want you to head marketing and sales. I had not sold 1 gram of steel, forget 1 kg or 1 ton. So I said, sir, why me? He says, I like your way of thinking and I want a fresh start. And I could make maximum changes. Maximum changes. But the first thing I did is I rang up all my salespeople. What do you want me to do? One fellow gave me very good advice from Kanpur. He says, sir, when a customer comes to you with a problem, you're within your right to solve his problem. But do me a favor. Call me. Pretend that you're taking my advice before giving the decision. So the customer knows that I'm not a nobody, that I am somebody. Because if you give, then he'll never listen to me, he won't give me that respect. We re-engineered, the type of people, the segmentation, so the impact I could have, and made it and when we had the Malcolm Baldrige assessment, it was among the best industrial marketing and sales organization in the world. Those 2 changes that I had made gave me maximum joy. Minimum also you'll ask. Minimum joy was SR Steel. Because I'm a driver, Formula 1 driver, but there has to be petrol in the car. Unless I'm driving downslope, which is what was happening. We were going downslope. We didn't have working capital, so it was very frustrating. You could not run the plant because there was just not enough working capital to buy raw materials. So that was where I had maximum stress and minimum joy. And then in HIRCO, real estate, the laws of this country is so complex and nobody knows the law. Every time you want to do something, someone will point out the law. I said, first make me a chart. What are the clearances I want? So that chart was made. Then every time I got one clearance, someone said, abhi yo bhi chahiye. I said, lekin chart mein nahi hai. I said, nahi sir, ye bhi karna hai. So that was like, real estate. Someone asked me to describe real estate. Real estate was going in a jungle where there are no roads because you don't know what is going to happen, with a fading torchlight and an obsolete rifle. You had to just manage your way. Of course, things are getting a little better, but it's a mucky industry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would like Krishna Dudrejia to ask a question.
Good morning. Good morning, sir, and a very good morning, one and all present here. My name is Krishna Dudrejia, and I am from Marwadi University. My question is, sir, you have been working with so many industry associates, and you are the past president of All India Management Association. So, how this industry can contribute to the society?
Which industry?
This All India Management Association or this kind of associations?
To make you world class by contributing through 3 C's. I think whether it's CII or AIMA, it's a platform that allows you connections, you get to meet people, share ideas, get better concepts, and competencies you will not get by sitting on a chair and listening, but something you have to do at your job. But these organizations, CII and AIMA, they help you in terms of what are the new concepts because you interact with people and by improving your connections. I have a nephew who lives in London. He's a venture capitalist, very rich, very well off, very successful. He keeps getting called for dinners. So I asked him that on what basis do you decide which dinner to attend and which one not to attend? So he says, I go to a dinner where I can ask questions, not to a dinner where I have to answer questions. So then I can learn. Of course, in Bombay, I have another criteria. If it takes me more than 45 minutes to go there, I'm not going. Whether I'm talking or listening doesn't matter. हमको तो खाना अच्छा चाहिए.
Thank you, sir.
I would like Mansi to ask a question.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Mansi Zakharia, and I'm from Sunshine Group of Institute. My question is, which sector is most contributing sector in India in terms of GDP, and as per your point, what are the future sectors?
This is for an economist. Which sector contributes most to GDP? Everything. I don't think. What is GDP?
Gross domestic product.
Okay, that's the acronym. But what is GDP? I know I'm not supposed to ask questions. I'm supposed to answer them. Whenever I was having a meeting and if my subordinate asked me a question and I didn't know the answer, I said, hello, I'm the boss. I ask questions, you answer them. Which when you don't have a clear answer, this is the tactic you use. I don't think there is, the first is GDP, they'll talk about services, manufacturing, agriculture. Today it's services is slowly overtaking manufacture. But I don't think any in our country of high population, it is not sustainable to have high GDP growth rate without a strong manufacturing sector. But services has a role to play. With improved productivity, agricultural employment and contribution is getting lower. In services, anything around Internet of Things, anything that uses technology, I think is going to grow. In manufacturing, the products you make. Look at Shark Tank and you'll get all the ideas. You see Shark Tank, the serial? See it. It's how investors, how potential entrepreneurs, and especially in a place like Rajkot, it will be an interesting TV series for you to watch, how they pitch for venture capital funding for their ideas. If there is a new product, now how much it will contribute to GDP, it all depends on its consumption. I think with a great mass, solid population, anything that in manufacturing appeals to the bottom of the pyramid is going to have its contribution. But I don't think I can pick up telecom or steel or automobiles and say this is the maximum. I think each one has a role to play. So it's like asking which part of your body contributes to the health of your body. And there's another, so slowly you realize which is the most, there's a joke around it. I'm not sure if I should share it, but I've already told you I have a foot and mouth disease, so here I go. So the eye said, I'm the most important part of the body. So the man became blind. Okay. So he was limited, but he continued to work. Then he says, the hand said, I'm the most important. Then the leg said, so all this carried on. Eventually the rectum said, I'm the most important. It stopped and the body collapsed. So it's not what you see, it's what works and what has implications. So I don't think, what is the relevance of your question? I'm trying to understand where you're getting at. Are you trying to decide which sector you should invest in, or what's the root cause, or what's the essence of your question? I'm trying to understand. Maybe, Ripple, you can help me.
The audience is a student basically. So what, maybe in couple of years they're going to go for the job, or maybe they're going to be an entrepreneur. So I'll mix my question with her and elaborate you in a different way. That what kind of advice you would like to have a students who are perceiving on their career mode, that whether to go for which sector. So complementing to her question about GDP, so what is their future and how?
See, if there is an attractive sector, you won't be the only one going there. Everybody will go there. Then it won't be attractive. So I don't think you should approach the problem that way. It's not where you go and what you do. The key is how well you do it. You know, yesterday's dinner was superb. Can I buy the recipe book and make the dinner the same way? Everybody can buy that recipe book to make undiyu. But every house you go to, the undiyu is different. So I don't think there is a recipe book or a sector or a company that you can join and be successful. You can be very successful as a chef. If you're not a good cook, you'll be somewhere in someone's house making dal roti. If you're a good cook, you become a chef, 5-star Michelin, you're a billionaire. So it's not what you do, it's where your talent is and how well you do it. If you're Virat Kohli, you play cricket and you make money. I play cricket and I lose money. So it's not playing cricket that so because Virat Kohli is making money and Dhoni is making money playing cricket, I should become a cricketer. It's because they play cricket well that makes them successful. So it's not what you do, it's how well you do it. Is that the signal time up? Probably 5 minutes.
Yeah. And sir, a final question which I would like on behalf of the students, and then I will pass the mic to the students for their questions. That what piece of a golden advice, because Shaping Young Mind is a program which majority of the students will carry on their life, because this is one of the kind of a program being organized in the Rajkot. So a final piece of advice to the students, that how they see the life, how they perceive it, and how they perceive the future.
Before I go to that, I'll just continue with that. You know, if you ask me today, what do I want to do, what do I want to be, I'm still confused. You know, like I said in the beginning, that people say, I'll do this, this is my goal, this is my milestones. My life has not taught me that. You go with the flow. In school, they teach you to aim and then shoot. In life, most of the time, you shoot and then aim. I think for you, as you progress in life, my advice to you is, how to develop yourself to be content within your situation. You know, I have, touch wood, God has given me 2 qualities that I find helps me. One is, I never compare myself with somebody else. My colleague is Ajit Jain. We are good friends. He is a likely successor to Warren Buffett. We were GTs together in Tata Steel. He went to US. Now he heads their insurance. But at no time when I see him and I take something from him, he says, Firdose, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. You don't have to get me anything. Just come spend time. Let's chat. Let's enjoy. I never tell myself, Salah, if I had gone to US, I would have been a multi-billionaire like him. So I think comparing is a source of unhappiness. I like the Hindu system. To be happy, don't have expectations. Because when your expectations are not met, you become unhappy. So learn to be content with what situation you have. And the second quality I have, which I try to tell my children, it doesn't work. But I don't know, fortunately God gave it to me. Whatever I have to do, I like to do. If I have to do something, except for one thing, eating less, everything else, if I have to come for this program and I want to sleep, I'm quite happy to come for this program because I have to come, I have committed. I think that sort of, if you can get your mindset into that situation, jo karna hai, make it. And remember, whatever you do in life is in three categories. The rule of three applies in many cases. If you are doing something, either it is duty, pleasure or profit. And if you can make it more than one, then you will be happy. So if I have to come here, if it is duty, I'll come here. But if I can also make it pleasure, then I'm more happy. And if I can make money on it, I'm even happier. But it's not happening. I don't need it. And as you grow, you'll have three things. And the percentage will change. You will earn, you will learn, and you will contribute. So depending on your stage in life, those percentages change. When I started my career, I had a job from Tata Steel at 500 rupees. I had a job from DCM at 1000 rupees. One was in Jamshedpur, one was in Delhi. I was greatly tempted to go to DCM. 1000 rupiah double, plus Delhi, kahan Jamshedpur mein phasega. But I spoke to some elders, I said, go to Tata Steel. You will learn more. You may earn less. When you're starting your career, go to a place where you will learn. Eventually, you will earn. I was very upset. I was getting 500 rupees. My cousin, she was an air hostess in Air India. She was getting 1500 rupees. 3 times. But I was told no. Then as you grow older, your learning may become less, your earning will become more. And then when you come to my stage, contributing back becomes more, earning becomes less, learning never stops. The day you stop learning, you're dead. They say, na, many people stop living at 40 and get buried at 80 because you stop learning.
Very true. Can we have questions from audience?
Audience is looking at the watch, 11:01. Yep. Time up.
We'll have a couple of questions and then we'll wrap it up. Please.
First of all, good morning, sir. My question is, sir, as you have represented the Tata, that is known for the culture. So it is always the changing situations in the market and volatility. So how would you be able to maintain the culture consistently?
By holding on to your values. If you have strong values and against headwinds, you stick to your values, your culture will stay. If there's a culture in the family to say the truth, and by saying the truth you'll get one slap, but you're willing to take the slap and say the truth. That's what I like about karma. You know, how is Hinduism different from other religions? In other religion, you make a sin, you do something wrong, you pray to God for forgiveness. In Hinduism, there's no forgiveness. That's your karma. then you pray to God to give me the strength to bear the consequences of my action. But there is no forgiveness. So you stick to the path. If you have strong values, whether it's an individual, company, take Tata's. J.R.D. Tata has said this, Ratan Tata has said this. We would have been many times bigger than what we are today if we had compromised on our values. But the values are strong, more important than the business. You know, I would try to meet the railway minister when I was in steel. They know Tata's में कुछ पैसा नहीं वाले वाला है. So maximum I would give them keychain, calendar, Tata Steel का pen. They know बेचारे का पास कुछ नहीं होगा. There were no requests made because they know ये तो टाटा का है, कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है, तो पूछने का ही नहीं है. Eventually that brand catches up. So if you want your culture to stay, define your values and stick to them under all circumstances.
Thank you, sir.
And then the second part, which I told earlier, the certainty of punishment, not the severity of punishment. I was in Thimphu. I had gone for a meeting. My host took me out for dinner. It was raining and it was dark. He parked the car, we got off the car and ran into the restaurant. Then he says, "Oh no." I said, "Kya ho gaya?" He said, "The tire of my car is touching the parking line." So I said, "So?" He said, "Fine milega." I said, "It's the evening, it's night, nobody will come." He said, "No, there is this lady who patrols this area. She will give me a ticket." So I am being a good Indian. I said, "Kitna hai ticket ka?" 100 rupiya. I took out 100 rupees and I gave him. "Here, come on, let's have dinner. Forget the parking fine." He said, No, Mr. Vandrevala, you don't understand. I will certainly get a ticket. There is no probability. It's a certainty. To pay the ticket, I have to go to court. To go to court, I have to wear my national uniform. Means pura din gaya. Better I go repark my car. He went and reparked his car. Because it is the certainty of the punishment and not the severity of the punishment. 100 rupiya is nothing. In California, I was getting late. I'm talking of 20 years ago. I was getting late to catch a flight, early morning. My friend stopped at a red light. And I would have missed my flight. I said, "Arun, chal, bhag. Koi nahi hai." He said, "Nahi, camera pakdega." So then you know what he did? He started taking his car back, forward. I said, "Pagal ho gaya kya? By this petrol mein to tum 2 kilometer nikal jata." He said, No, I'm giving signal to the camera that there's a lot of traffic. It will change from red to green quickly. You will innovate, but you will not break the law. So bend the rule, don't break the rule. He was bending the rule, he was not breaking the rule. So if you want your culture to stay, hang on to those values.
We'll have one last question. If
हेलो सर
Hi.
सर मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि अभी क्या है कि हम टीनेज है या 20 के हैं, जो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं पेरेंट्स ना सभी स्टूडेंट्स या अपने बच्चे को किसी के पास भेज दे कि तू उनसे कुछ सीख। आपने कहा कि आप जब टाटा का आपको ऑप्शन मिला कि आपको जॉब मिल रही थी और जब DCA में मिले थे आपने किसी की एडवाइस ली, आपको किसी ने सलाह दी कि नहीं भाई तू इसमें जा, टाटा में जा, तू कुछ लर्न करेगा, तो हमें किन से एडवाइस लेनी चाहिए जो हमें कुछ अच्छा बना सके?
The person you trust.
But sir,
It could be your father, it could be your mother, it could be your driver, it could be your servant.
Okay.
The person you have trust in.
Okay,
Because
sir.
that advice can work, cannot work.
मैं जिस पे ट्रस्ट कर, अगर मुझे मेरे पेरेंट्स पे तो ट्रस्ट है बट उनके पास एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है, उनके पास जो नॉलेज नहीं है, तो मैं किसके पास एडवाइस लेने जाऊँ?
So you have to know who has the knowledge.
Okay, sir. And
Let me give you one example. I told you about Rusi Modi. He was, I told you, BCom, second class, third class. He himself used to say, sorry, BA. There was a big discussion in the company. आप बैठे ना? Company में बहुत intense discussion था whether to put a back pressure turbine because then you can use the balance pressure for blast furnace steam, or to put a run through and generate more. So you could put up 12.5 megawatt turbine generator set with back pressure process steam, or 25 megawatts. Intense discussion, nothing could be done. No decision. So then Mr. Modi called a meeting at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock, no decision. He says, we'll meet tomorrow. Then he met me in the club. I was in the meeting to make minutes. I was a junior assistant engineer. Minutes ka kaam tha. Then he asked me, Firdose, what do you think we should do? I said, sir, what I think doesn't matter. What you think matters. What do you think? He said, I have already decided. I said, you've decided? Then why are you having the meeting? I said, let people think that I'm listening, I'm understanding, then they will think well of me. That sabko sun ke decision diya hai. So tomorrow I will give the decision. So I said, sir, what is the decision? He said, I don't know. Whatever Padmanabhan says, I will do. Because I know, I trust him for his knowledge on this subject. So when you become the head of a company, he told me, don't try to know everything, but try to know who knows what. Don't try to know everything. But if you have an eye problem, kis eye doctor ko jana hai? If you have a foot problem, kiska paas jana hai? So identify your experts. Don't try to be an expert on all matters. One matter, yes, like I said. But don't try to be an expert on all. But make sure you know who are the experts in the others. We all had a meeting. I never said this to anybody. Today I'm saying it here. Fortunately, Mr. Modi is dead and so is Mr. Padmanabhan. But he had said, whatever Mr. Padmanabhan says, I will do. Let people talk. Let them have that opinion that I'm listening to everybody. So if you have a problem, go to someone you trust and you know that that person knows. Now, how to know who knows, that's a long one.
Thank you, Mr. Vandrevala, for taking the questions and really inspiring a lot of youth present in the audience. So we end this session, and let me summarize it as the mantras. What we summarize from Vandrevala is let the flow go on, let you be with the flow, have an ability to change, and specifically a behavioral change which is definitely needed. Be world class. As he mentioned about their 3 C's concept, compassions and connections in a good way, what he explained. Integrated view of a problem, be expert or a specialist, and the most important thing, don't quit. So these, let us summarize it and mesmerize these things in the mind. So maybe in the near future, the aspiring youth will convert into you are going for the jobs, or maybe you will be your own entrepreneur. This kind of advice will be always with you. So officially we end this session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Firdose Vandrevala and Mr. Ripple Patel. It was such a wonderful session. Thank you, panelists, for the wonderful questions. And as I recall the interactions and the inputs which we got from Mr. Firdose, 2-3 things which I loved it was, character is what takes you where you want to be. And it is not, it is important what you do, but it is more important how you do it. So whatever you do it well, up to the mark. And if you hold on your morals, and if you hold on your ethics and values, that will bring a culture in you. And values are virtue. So good luck to all of you. As a token of love and gratitude, we would like to present a small memento to you. May I request Mr. Ripple Patel to please present the memento to Mr. Firdose Vandrevala. May I request Mr. Ajit Nathwani to please come forward and present a token of love, gratitude, and a memento to Mr. Ripple Patel. so much once again. May I request each and everyone to please step down the stage and occupy the seats with the audience. RMA recognizes the presence of Mr. Danish Patel, the Executive Vice President of RK University, Chairman, the North Star School, and the main sponsor of Shaping Young Minds program. So the making and planning and execution of SYMP happened a few months ago, since a few months, and we have been working, Rajkot Management Association and the team had been working very, very hard on it. And we have come up with a beautiful souvenir, which is printed for all of us. And we are going to take this opportunity to launch that souvenir in front of you on the stage right away. May I request Mr. Deepak Vora, Mr. Prabhu Chawla, Mr. Firdose Vandrevala, Mr. Sanjay Grover, Mr. Danish Patel, Mr. Parag Jobanputra, Mr. Chetan Kothari, Mr. Deepak Sachdev, Mr. Jayant Kotecha, Mr. Dharmesh Raval, Mr. Kalpit Sangvi to please be on the stage and do the honors of launching the beautiful souvenir which we have made. The souvenir is made in a very short time of just 3 days. We have been collecting material for it, but it's got printed only 3 days ago and it has come out really, really well. You will all get it from the registration counter once the session gets over. Thank you so much. May I request the team to please get the souvenirs on the stage? Thank you so much.